The block building that later was built for football, you think it was built after you?
Yeah, I think it was built after I finished school. I think it was 50 or 51.
Okay.
I remember seeing it when I came back for a game, like 51. But we changed. We had a dressing room. We had a shower room over on the other side of the campus there.
And then you said at halftime y'all went in one of the classrooms.
Classroom over here in the side, in the wing, and but we didn't have a field house.
And you said that your family went to Mississippi in '43.
Yeah, brothers and I went in '43.
What was it like living in Foley in '41 and '42, or especially '42 with the war starting?
Well, I can remember we were living at my grandmother's house because our house west of Foley, they were doing some work on it, and my grandmother's house, and I can remember playing out in the backyard Sunday afternoon when somebody came out and said Pearl Harbor's been bombed, and because I didn't know where Pearl Harbor from Somerdale. But you know, everybody knew everybody back then. They knew where everybody lived, and by February, March of '42, my dad was in the Navy. He was a Navy doctor, and he had been in the Navy Reserve, and he ended up in the South Pacific and Hawaii. He was on a carrier for a while. But of course, the big thing was Barron Field coming along, and I can remember the football games here. There were a lot of sailors here. You know, it was a smaller town then, but everybody knew each other.
Right.
It was changed a lot when the war came.
I heard people talking about blackening their windows and things like that. You remember?
Down at the beach, yeah. We had a little cabin down there. You had to pull your shades at night. They had the Coast Guard with horses on the beach, patrolling the beach. And I remember we'd take them coats down there and so forth.
How about that? Pretty neat. What about the house next to y'all? I don't know if he was living there at that time, but a Mr. Stapleton.
Yeah, the Stapletons, next to my grandmother's, Stapleton, Earl Stapleton. In fact, he played football too, I believe. I mean, he was ahead of me. But one of them died in the Coconut Grove fire in Boston, I think. I forgot, that may have been during the war. I forgot when that was. I remember the family.
Mr. Stapleton was one of the first principals at Foley.
Was he?
I don't know if you knew that or not, but he was.
I didn't know that. When I was in, I'm trying to think, Mr. Bennett was principal at one time. And after he died, Miss Bennett taught me in the 3rd grade, I believe. And she roomed with my grandmother.
Is that right?
So naturally, I made good grades in the 3rd grade.
Yeah, I remember reading that. I think he died in January '41.
Well, I don't remember what, yeah. But then later, Mr. Hadley was principal. And I got to know him. Well, it's not here, but in Tuscaloosa, he was taught at Alabama and so forth. I got to know him. And then when he was at South Alabama, I'd see him from time to time.
And looks like you were also the editor of the yearbook.
Yeah.
So you were an athlete and a scholar.
Well, no wonder the yearbook was so good.
Yeah.
A lot of the yearbooks aren't like that. That's
Well, I tell you,
No,
I wish
my
we had-
pictures in there.
I wish we had more of the game by, little game
Oh,
summaries here with the picture. We're going to be able to use this. This
I
is
guarantee you.
excellent.
I
This is
guarantee you.
excellent.
How about when you were in Mississippi? Do you remember the people still talking about Doc Blanchard?
Yeah, now he was gone when I got there, even in '43. He was at West Point. But he was still, the big guy down there. I mean, they remember.
With your firm?
Yeah, well, I graduated in 1960 and went with a firm in Mobile. My wife was from Mobile, and I really had Cecil Chasen and I had talked about me coming back to Foley, and I really kind of had a plan about that. But my wife was from Mobile, and it's kind of hard sometimes to get a Mobile girl out of Mobile. And I had some friends in a firm over there, Humbert, it's now Humbert Jackson. And so I went with that firm, and I'm still with it 53 years later. But I practiced in Mobile and Baldwin County, and primarily civil trial work. Started out, you got to do everything, start out. And
Were you bar president?
I was president of state bar. Like 20 years ago, I guess. But I've really enjoyed the practice of law and the camaraderie and helping people, and it's been good to me, and something I've enjoyed doing.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How much did you have?
Was your dad, how many other doctors were here while your dad was here? If you
Well, I guess when he first started, no one other than my grandfather, and later, by the time he died in 1961, there were several, mostly, and there were no specialists to speak of. Dr. Michelson, Dr. Foster were here by then, and that was one reason my brothers didn't come back. Buddy was a surgeon and Jimmy was an OBGYN, and they didn't feel they could specialize here at that time. Of course, now they've got every specialty known to man.
But your dad did it, he pretty well did it all. I
Yeah,
guess.
pretty much. Well, he didn't do he had trained some in surgery, but he didn't do a lot of surgery. He did like appendectomies, but he didn't do a lot of surgery later on, particularly when the South Baldwin Hospital opened. He would have doctors over here, surgeons from Mobile and Pensacola.
Did Dr. Taylor work with him any, or did Dr. Taylor kind of come in and succeed him after he passed away?
No, Marvin Taylor came the year before. My dad brought him
Yeah,
over. He practiced with my dad
I thought so.
for about a year, but by then my dad was pretty sick. He unfortunately had Lou Gehrig's disease.
Huh.
Dr. Taylor came in 1960, and my dad died in '61. And of course, Marvin Taylor was a lot like my dad. He
Yeah.
you know.
How long did your mother and grandmother live?
My grandmother, Nanny died. She was like 82. She died in 1964. My mom died in April of 2000, and she was 91.
She was named Philomene, wasn't it?
Philomene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was Philomene.
Yeah, I remember her working with Dr. Taylor for a long time.
Yeah, she
After
worked
that.
for Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, I would see her when we couldn't
Mhm.
see Dr. Taylor.
But she did, during the war and after, she did a lot of stuff because she had to. I mean, she delivered babies. She was
Pretty sure
one
she's
claim to fame is she delivered Kenny Stabler.
Yeah.
My dad couldn't get there. Christmas Day, I believe it was. 45.